Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD Podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. I want to start off by pointing out something, and that is, no matter the business you're in, this is a master skill to master. Okay, no matter so if you are in private practice, this is a skill that will turn your practice around. I'm talking like, even if you look at, there is a spine surgeon. If you guys are YouTubers, you know, there's a spine surgeon called Dr. Webb Antonio, I think that's his name. And he has a whole YouTube channel, 33 million views and all that stuff. And guess what? If someone is in Houston and they need a spine surgeon, they're going to him. And if someone as specialized as that is using speak, and he's on TV and he's a paid keynote, all this stuff, speaking works for private practice, even if you're a specialty. Speaking work if you're a coach. Oh my goodness. If you are an entrepreneur, speaking works. If you're like, I'm not really sure. I signed up for EntreMD because I know there's more. I don't know what more is. Speaking works. The bottom line is, I want everyone on here to embrace the challenge, embrace the little steps and nuances. There's a rhythm behind the whole madness. Okay. I want you to embrace it. I saw, people posting on, the posts for the week, the things they had done and all of that stuff. Embrace it all. Okay. Now, I've told you guys before that I spoke with Kara Golden, the founder of Hint Water, the unsweetened flavored water. And when I spoke with her, it was a very weird dynamic because, she was like, oh, so what do you do? And I told her about my business. And she went on this thing like it was a coaching session. And she was like, when I started my business, I didn't have the big marketing dollars. Now, we're talking about a business that does 150 million in revenue. I didn't have the big marketing dollars. The story sold this business. Telling the story is what put us on the map. Telling the story. So I want you to think about it. 150 million in revenue. Her strategy is storytelling. It's speaking. It's storytelling. And then today I was in a advisory type meeting, and this was a group of women who are CEOs of 7-figure companies. And this lady comes in, her area of expertise is mergers and acquisitions for medical. So whether that's medical spas, private practices, and things like that. And she's doing like acquisitions of 100 million, 50 million, all this stuff. And she's like, when you're going in, you must know your story. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we're talking about selling something that's millions of dollars, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. She says it's the story that makes the difference. If you don't know your story, you end up taking a lot less than your worth in the acquisition, in the sale, in the merger. And I'm thinking, well, we can't escape this stuff. You know what I mean? So you may not be looking to sell something for 100 million. You may not be looking to do any of that stuff, but your story is what makes a difference. So let me see if she's here. Dr. Joanna. Okay, she's not here, but she'll listen to the recording. I want to give you an example, right? There is Tom's shoes. Have you guys heard about Tom's shoes? Have you guys looked at those shoes and you're like, these are amazing shoes? The shoes are not cute, okay? They're just shoes, right? Like, I wouldn't think twice about buying them. But they're selling millions of these shoes. Why? Because of the story behind the shoes. Like, there's, I traveled, I went to Australia, and all these kids, they're going to school with no shoes on and all this stuff. So we came back, we're like, what can we do? We made these shoes. For every pair you buy, a kid in Australia gets a pair of shoes. So guess what? Everybody's buying the shoes. I don't want to say the ugly shoes, okay? I'm not knocking them. I'm just trying to say, what makes the business special is the story. So we have Dr. Jarita Higgins here, who's starting a private practice. And the first thing she talked about, I was looking at her like, what? I said, your story will keep your practice busy forever. Okay, so her story is she grew up in a church. She grew up, she was in church. And then she had all these ladies who were the ones who prayed for her to get into medical school and supported her and all this kind of stuff. So she went away from medical school, and then she came back to give back to her community, and her private practice is in the church. She came back to give back to all the people who made it possible for her to thrive in medical school. Now, if that's random family medicine doctor and this family medicine doctor with this story, pray tell, where do you go? Do you see what I'm saying? It's the story. So I said all that because we're going to work on our story for week 2. Okay. And I don't want you to see Dr. This is not what I signed up for. I signed up to look at profit and loss statements and all this stuff. You're wasting my time. No, this is the thing. And the more in tune you are with this, the more you can pull out those stories, the more you can speak all of that, the better everything else is. Okay, so the time and the effort it will take for you to do this is 100% worth it. Now, of course, it's going to feel messy. It's going to feel challenging because it's a challenge. Okay, and the more you do it, the better you become at it. The more you see stories everywhere. So I don't know, what episode was that of the podcast? Are you committed to your success? I think that's what it was. Or what are you willing to give up for your success? That's what it was. Okay, so where did that episode come from? I'm chatting with my son, who's at camp. 4 weeks. Mama can't take it. But anyway, 4 weeks, he's away at camp. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm just here. I'm bored and all this stuff. And he has like this whole, I don't know what it was, 80-quart thing of snacks, right? And I'm going like, he's just going to eat this whole thing in one day. And he's like, oh my goodness, my roommate is here. I'm like, amazing. He's like, he has books. And the books, like on the text is like all uppercase. He has books. And starts listing all the books that he has. And it's like, oh, so I'm reading this book. I'm like, that's great. He's like, I had to give him 2 bags of chips to get the book. And so I'm like, okay. So first of all, I'm like, wow, such is life, right? Like, might as well get used to it. This is what happens in real life. But then I'm like, what makes an 11-year-old give up 2 bags of chips for a book? Right? Like, what makes you think that way? Right? Because, someone else would go like, I'm just going to eat my chips. Like, you can hang on to your books. Who cares? And I was like, that's a demonstration of a value system. Like, food is great. Snacks are great. But I value developing my mind more than I value snacks, right? And then so now this is a story that I could have just walked by. But because I've spent all this time learning, like use your stories, the stories are powerful, all of that stuff, I was able to pull a whole podcast episode out of it because I'm like, he was willing to give that up for this. So you want to be successful. What are you willing to give up for your success? And then I start pulling up examples. Are you willing to give up being in your comfort zone, willing to give up TV? Because everybody says no, social media, everybody says no time, but you see all their comments on Facebook and you're like, you must have time. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm saying that to say, the more you practice this, and physicians, what do we do every day? We're around people. Right? We're around people. And what do people have? Stories. And we're not just around people. We talk to people. Like, why are you here? And they never tell us, oh, I just have a headache. You know, it's like I went to the bank and this happened. And like, we're around the best stories. Now, imagine if you were able to pull lessons out of that. You're able to pull your point of view out of that. Like, we have stories. We have good stuff.
Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to EntreMD.com/on demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.